Okay, so if we want to solve global warming, we're going to need to start sucking a lot.
Hey,
That makes sense.
Yeah, you guys ready?
Be good.
Suck the people at the top of the companies so that they'll have some incentive to stop polluting our planet, right? That's what you're saying.
That sounds so weird, man.
That's not what you're saying.
Obviously, the world is heating up, right? And it's a big part of why that's happening is because of the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, which traps heat from the sun, preventing it from escaping. And that heat has got to go somewhere. So it heats up the ice and it heats up the air and it heats up you and me.
And then polar bears.
And then polar bears. They're boiling.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we might try and plant trees to soak up CO2. We might try and use less CO2 by burning less fuel, for example. And maybe we could even hold our breath, which is literally actually one of the not sort of causes of CO2 is us, like perspiring.
Breathing too much.
So yeah, you guys...
Respiring.
Sorry, respiring.
Yeah.
You guys all need to not perspiring. Wear more deodorant, everyone.
I don't know how much CO2 is in your sweat. Probably some small amount, surely.
Perhaps.
And that's the problem.
But the point is, all of you stop breathing.
Can I just point out, by the way, holding your breath.
Stop breathing. Now speak without breathing out.
Holding your breath is not gonna solve the problem. It's just delaying it.
Yeah.
Because you'll still be respiring. You'll just be keeping it all inside you.
But when you eventually have to breathe, you'll breathe a lot more because you have to catch your breath.
Well, that's true, but that's the same as using trees. Like, yes, when the tree dies and it rots, it will release all that CO2 again. But we still plant trees.
No.
Yeah. When the forest is destroyed or the tree dies, the CO2 is released again.
Yeah, but the tree's going to create more plant. That's not the point. My point.
Yeah.
No, these aren't the same thing.
Okay.
Continue.
Wow,
Why
you
have
guys
we got
are
stuck on this?
really derailed my story here. Anyway, so one of the big new industries that is emerging to try and tackle the carbon dioxide crisis, it aims instead to suck up the CO2 and basically put it somewhere else. So customers, what are you laughing at now?
It's like a Futurama, it's like a Futurama solution. Why don't we just suck up all the CO2 and put it over there,
fling it into the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've got too much garbage, so we'll just fling it into the sun.
To be fair, that would actually fix it.
Yeah.
So anyway, some of the customers for this new industry include Bill Gates, Shopify, and Audi. So it's potentially serious business. It's called direct air capture, and the prices are looking as high as $600 per ton of CO2. And although CO2 has gone up by 50% in the last few hundred years since the beginning of the industrialization, it's still only about 1/25th of the air, about 414 parts per million. So getting a ton of CO2 requires processing about 800 Olympic swimming pools worth of air. So it is no small feat to get this stuff out of the atmosphere. So there's a few different ways to basically reverse the release of CO2 that we are doing. There's a company called Climeworks in Iceland that has a 3-stage process. So, number one, you get a big box with a big fan in it, which blows the air over a material which absorbs CO2.
Right.
And you might think, cool, we've done it. We've absorbed the CO2. But then, number two, you close the box and you heat up that material to 100 degrees with renewable geothermal energy, crucially, which causes it to release its CO2, but the box is closed, so it can't get out and kill us all. Step 3, you mix that CO2 up with water, and that water saturated with CO2 is pumped deep underground, and in a few years, somehow, it turns into rock. I'm not quite sure how that works, but if you pump a load of CO2 saturated water underground, it turns into rock in about 2 years. Weird.
2 years.
That's quite fun.
Yeah.
Seems quick.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was one method I was reading about, which was like taking I think fertilizer or like waste products of something that normally would then rot and go into the atmosphere and turning them back into an oil-like substance and piping that back into places where you've taken oil. Weird. So the side benefit of this for our industry is that the skills required to do this are kind of similar to traditional oil and gas workers. So we've got this big problem going on right now where under our current economic system, if we get rid of like oil and gas and things like that, we have all these people who are trained in a certain skill that can't utilize that skill anymore. And where are they going to work? Where's
They're
the
gonna have to
money going to
starve.
come from, Corey?
They're going to have to starve.
Where's the food going to come from?
They'll have to starve, I suppose.
Okay.
There's no way we can give people food and whatnot for...
No way.
No way.
No,
Right?
that would defy the laws of nature.
You know, and if we don't have enough jobs for everyone to have a job,
Yep.
the solution is obviously to find more pointless jobs.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a pointless job,
that,
but yeah.
that a robot could do.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Or let people starve.
Or we can either make pointless jobs or let people starve. There's nothing else we can
There's
do.
literally nothing else we can do. Right? I do have this moment every so often where I get like a prank, like not a prank call, but like a telemarketing annoyance call. And they're trying to sell me something that I categorically do not need. And I'm like, if we've got enough resources that there's a company that can employ a bunch of people to call up people who don't want something to sell them something they don't need, why can't we feed everyone? What's going on?
I worked in marketing for 2 years, which itself is a profession that is pointless, more or less. They tell themselves all the time, we're worthy. Yeah, putting billboards up in your towns make your towns look cool and trendy. And I think putting a billboard up in your town makes it look ugly and disgusting.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Put a tree there instead.
Yeah, maybe,
Trees
yeah,
look so
plant a
much
tree.
better.
Yeah.
So no, people in marketing try and make themselves feel like their job is important and it means something. The entire industry means nothing, but there are also jobs within that industry which are entirely pointless, right?
Well, marketing gets money off of people who work for more money than they should pay for the product.
Yes, but what
How
I
is that not
realized
desirable, Corey?
what I realized very quickly is that there are a lot of salespeople in marketing that don't need to be there. They could very easily be replaced by computers if you make a computer that can take people out and get drunk with them.
Ah.
That's the only purpose that salespeople serve in market. I'm not even joking. I'm telling you honestly.
Okay. Well, anyway, back to CO2. There is another company which uses a process called molecular sieves. Basically, it uses something called zeolites, which are already manufactured for other reasons, such as laundry detergent. One company uses an electrochemical process rather than heating, so that uses much less energy. There's even a plan which designs passive buildings, which passively absorb CO2 because, and I quote from the CEO of Solitaire Power, Petri Laxo, people are more stupid inside. Because basically, inside there's more CO2 because we're breathing out CO2.
Oh, yeah.
The air you breathe has more CO2 in it, so you get less oxygen to your brain per breath, and basically you don't work as well. So people are more stupid inside. And so the idea is that this could sort of hurt worker productivity.
Oh no.
So it's an easy sell to a corporation. If their workers are going to work better, you basically sell them a green innovation under the guise of increased productivity to get these companies to basically buy something which has a side effect of increasing their bottom line, but really sucks CO2 out of the atmosphere. It's kind of cool. Corey is finding this incredibly hilarious.
Sorry. The bottom line here is the planet that we live on will continue to be habitable for a long period of time. But that is the medicine. The sugar to go with the medicine is your workers will be more productive.
Yeah, it's tricking capitalism into fixing problems. It's great.
But measurably more productive? Oh wait, let's not
doesn't matter.
let's not talk about it. We don't want them to know.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It might be complete rubbish.
We
But
don't want them
as
to
long as they can justify it to their
Don't give
shareholders,
it away.
it doesn't matter.
Jesus.
So the point is, there is a lot of innovation happening in this space, but obviously fixing a problem that we've already created and are continuing to create is not as good as just not causing the problem in the first place, right? Obviously it's a bit late for that, but not continuing to cause the problem. Remember that one company I mentioned in Iceland, right? They are currently the world's largest single plant doing that. In total, this company captures around 4,000 tons of CO2 a year, which is really cool, except for the fact that London alone produced 32 million tons in 2018.
That's a lot. So I think I did the maths. So you said it cost £600.
I've got the math, don't worry.
Oh, you got the maths?
Yeah.
Okay, I did some math.
I think I've got the math you want, right?
Okay, let's see if our math matches up. Yeah, go for it.
So here's some world CO2 facts, right? In 2019, about 43.1 billion tons of CO2 were released from human activities alone. and emitted into the atmosphere. From 1850 to 2019, 2,400 gigatons of CO2 have been emitted by human activity. Around 950 gigatons of this went into the atmosphere. The rest has been absorbed by the oceans and the land. And this sounds maybe good, but oceans absorbing CO2 causes other problems, such as increases hydrogen ions, and this increases acidification of seawater and dissolves the shells of sea life and destroys corals, right? So, according to Jan Wurzbacher at Climeworks, the Icelandic company I mentioned before, we need to take care of about 10 billion tons of CO2 per year by the middle of the century. At the current price of $600... Fly!
Why is there a fly?
Don't kill him!
It's just annoying me. We got him.
At the current price of $600 per ton, that is $6 trillion per year. The price is predicted to be able to come down as low as $100 a ton by the middle of the century. That's still $1 trillion a year. If we're going to do this, we basically need to have a kind of wartime mentality, like a wartime effort. People's attitude needs to change and forego some of our individual sort of selfish needs with the idea of continuing the species. And hopefully, as a species, we can come to terms with and accept that. But, you know, there are still people who drop trash on the floor when they can't bother to find a bin, so it doesn't look good.
I saw someone I saw someone do something worse. I saw someone walk past the bin and just throw their rubbish at the bin. It was a closed top. It was a closed top bin. They just threw it at the bin.
Yeah,
not trying to get it in, just at it.
I wonder if that is like, because that's fascinating. Because there's two options there. Either they deliberately don't care, but for some reason they waited until they were at a bin, or they actually thought that might work.
It might work.
Maybe thought it was good enough. I don't know.
I tried. Yeah, they get to go away not feeling guilty.
Yeah.
I picked it up and put it in.
I missed. I didn't realize.
They were just walking. They didn't want to stop. It would have. They weren't. They were within absolute like popping it in distance. They just decided to throw it.
Is that the math you wanted, by the way, Corey?
Yeah,
like
that's about close.
The estimation of the price of this.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how much Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk, could contribute to this just personally.
Well, this, to be honest, even dwarfs.
Oh, it's outside of
wealth they have. It's insane.
That gets to the kind of point where I think money is pretend. Mm-hmm. So maybe for a little bit, just the tiniest little bit, we could pretend that money doesn't exist. Just figure it out, you know?
Well, that's essentially what you do when you print more money. You pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you pretend, but you pretend
pretend more exists.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like this thing costs so much money. No, it doesn't. Money doesn't exist.
No.
Let's just fix the problem, and we can figure out our little game. The house is on fire, but we're finishing this game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
And before we go, we need to finish the game. So let's continue playing. No, just get out the house and then sort out your game of Monopoly later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is most people don't realize they're playing a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, I know. But
they think that this is actually the world.
Yeah, I know. But if the world's going to end, if it's a choice between the world ending or letting everyone know they're playing a fun little game.
End. We've been over this. We just die.
Well, I don't die.
You might do.
No, I think I'd survive.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this basically, as I've said, we're going to need a wartime effort, especially from governments, to then encourage in all of us. But the other thing about this is that this is going to need to be heavily subsidized by developed countries, rich countries, who are responsible for, and even when they're not responsible for, they reap the benefits of an oversized share of the pollution. For example, a bunch of the pollution is done in China, but it's to make all the devices that we then buy in the West.
Right in America.
Yeah. And so this is actually something which I find interesting that our Prime Minister was talking about this week, about the idea that rich countries are going to need to sort of subsidize the less well-off countries. And I actually found that surprising. It's,
Bojo said that.
Bojo was talking about rich countries subsidizing global warming effort, yeah.
Look at that.
I know. Character development.
Bare minimum. He's got there at last.
Bare minimum.
If you enjoyed that clip, head over to patreon.com/SciGuys where you can find the full show. Or you can stay here and catch up on old Sci Guys episodes. Or you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at SciGuysPod to find out when we're doing more live shows.